All right, so none of this would be possible without this guy. And that's an old picture, but man, he's a dapper looking dude there. That is Mr. Salvador Rosales Trejo, also known as Chava of Cascahuin. And today we're talking about Lagrimas del Valle tequila. So there's a lot of incredible things that we can talk about when it comes to Lagrimas, from the idea of a study of terroir, crossing over multiple states. Like right now in front of me, I have tequilas coming from one region of Jalisco, another region of Jalisco, Michoacan, and now Guanajuato, which are 3 of the 5 states in the denomination of origin that can legally make tequila. But none of this happens without Chava and his family. So Chava is the 3rd generation of the Rosales family at Cascahuin, and it is a huge honor to get to work with them on a project like Lagrimas. And frankly, their know-how, their ability, and their relationships with all aspects of tequila production, especially the Agaveros, are what makes Lagrimas actually work. So one of the most important things that we discussed early on was that Chava mentioned that they didn't want to just take this on as another contract brand. They actually did want to take this on as a family brand. And so he wanted to get the whole family involved. And I've been asked this question multiple times, especially about how do you determine which field you're going to harvest next, which ranch it is. And the reality is that we don't have anything to do with that. In fact, that is entirely up to the Rosales family and up to their ability to discern what fields are best going to express unique terroir. And thus far, they have not let us down in any way. The first 2 fields, Palo Verde and El Chiqueño, were basically right nearby one another in Amatitan, in this little sub-region of Jalisco. And by the way, if you happen to find a bottle of Palo Verde Plata out there, let me know, because this is my very last bottle. And it is the one that I have signed from Chava. So I have no intentions of opening that one up for a while, but this particular ranch is very special to me. And honestly, in my opinion, they knocked it out of the park, especially on that first ranch selection. But Palo Verde and El Chiqueño, even though they're from similar terroir, from similar subregions, are so wildly different from one another. One of the most recent harvests, which you can see I don't even have in a labeled package yet, this is one of the initial samples for La Sabina. We've had El Sabino, which came from Teuchitlan in Jalisco, but now we're going to La Sabina, which was actually in Guanajuato. We had these ranchos coming from Jalisco, and then we had this one coming from Michoacan. And then I got an email from Chava that they mentioned, hey, we've got an opportunity for several incredible fields coming from Guanajuato. Which one would you like? And it's like, that is not my area of expertise at all. And I mean, in particular, this is where having a good partnership, having a good relationship with the distillers, with the family behind distillation, I feel is so important, because there's that degree of faith, right? And obviously, we know that the Rosales family can make incredible tequilas. Not just from what they've done with Lagrimas, but many of their other brands that are already out there, and of course their namesake brand, Cascahuin. In fact, when I was asked if you could work with anybody in all of tequila right now to develop a new concept, which is ultimately what became Lagrimas, there was zero hesitation to say Cascahuin. I mean, because everything that Chava and his family have been doing has been done the slow, right way. You know, I will say one of the greatest challenges has been trying to educate people that even though these bottles look similar, that these could not be more different from one another. Honestly, we could probably put a different brand name and different label on every single one of these. And if you included it in a blind, you'd understand like, okay, there's some similarities, but these are definitely totally different tequilas. And the only difference is the terroir, is where the agaves were coming from, where they grew. It's just so wild for me to consider that as much as tequila has exploded, especially over the last few years, and how much demand there is for more authenticity, and then a concept like terroir, which is centuries old. I mean, like we see it in wine, we see it in coffee, we see it in chocolate, right? We're tasting single origin chocolates and tasting the differences in the cocoa beans. You know, the difference of coffee from like Ecuador versus Ethiopia versus, looking in Mexico, like substantially different character and flavor, all derived on terroir. And then, of course, when you get into wine, I mean, you could argue that there is an entire subset or study of wine that is just terroir. I mean, terroir has been essential to the connoisseurship of wine. Tequila, where you've got the blue agave that's taking anywhere from 5, 6, 7, 8 years before it's fully ripe and mature, just essentially absorbing all of the character, all of the terroir, not just of the soil, but also the climate, the region, and ultimately the farming, the practices of the farmer themselves. How is it that terroir has not been that much more of an important conversation in this category in particular? And it blows my mind, right? Because it's just a matter of time, because this, in my opinion, is an evolution. This is largely the direction that I believe spirits are heading, where there is a strong, authentic traceability or tie back to the land, to the person that is farming the thing, distilling the thing, blending the thing. There is that kind of indelible mark that is left on the liquid in the bottle from the hand or hands of the makers, the farmers, etc., all along the way. And I think that is ultimately the story that is so important to be told in so much of these products. It's not just about tequila in a bottle. To me, as more individuals become further educated about the categories and about the process, about the culture and the history, there is going to be an inextricable link to terroir that is going to naturally present. And so to have the opportunity to taste 3 states across the 5 states that can legally produce tequila, but always made in the same place, in the same manner, by an extremely highly regarded and masterful hand of Chava and the whole family at Cascahuin. And when I say the family at Cascahuin, I don't just mean anybody that is of the Rosales family. I mean everyone at that distillery, because frankly, everyone together is what makes these things work. It's an incredible journey, and getting to taste literally geography and culture in a bottle is a really interesting way to approach something if you are wanting to actually educate your palate and educate your experience, and you're not just drinking to get intoxicated. There is so much more to the appreciation of the culture and the liquid that I think honestly often gets left out of the conversation. So Lagrimas del Valle, Tears of the Valley. This tequila does not exist without Chava, without the Rosales family, without the Cascahuin family, and especially not without all of their generational knowledge that they've developed, their relationships, because ultimately that is part of their story that you're tasting in every bottle of Lagrimas and of every bottle that comes out of that distillery. And seriously, if anyone out there finds any of the Palo Verde Plata, please reach out, let me know. I need more. I have no more. I want more. And this is as someone who arguably should have been smart enough to go buy and save more. But ultimately, I got too excited. I gifted it. We opened bottles up. We tried it. We tasted it with other bartender friends. And now here I am. I'm down to my last bottle. It's meant to be enjoyed and shared and build community, not just sealed in bottles in a cabinet. So there you have it. Lagrimas del Valle. We're only a couple of years in, but man, the journey has been incredible thus far. Cheers.